that we've all been doing. You know, I kind of gave the 9th and the 8th district, as well as some of our local races, the oxygen in the room. So I decided it was time to do an official kickoff for my campaign, and I thought, you know, who better than the people that have supported me since I originally announced in October. And you know, we all meet here on a weekly basis, so we've all gotten to know each other quite well. And I thought, what better place than here at Caution to do the official kickoff. And basically, the reason I started this campaign was I kind of looked at the 2008 election. And many of you know that, you know, we lost North Carolina. John McCain lost North Carolina by 14,000 votes. By just 14,000 votes. Otherwise, he would have had our 15 electoral votes to go with the rest of it. And that might have put a couple other states that were a little bit closer in play. And those 14,000 votes are going to be pretty easy to get in the 12th when I'm out there and I'm campaigning in all 6 counties. And I'm working the circuits that we need to work and that we need to reach out to help people understand the conservative values and bring them to the polls in November. The campaign platforms that I'm running on are the ones that are dear to many of our hearts as Tea Party members and as conservatives, independents, and as Republicans. And basically it boils down to the budget, which we all know is way out of control. And when I go to Washington, I will not vote for any tax rate increase. We've had enough taken from the American hard-working pockets to go to give to Washington, where they think they know how to spend that money better than we do. And I will not vote for a tax rate increase. Hear, hear. I will also back, along with, I believe, the other 100, I think it's about 127 congressmen right now that are backing a balanced budget amendment. If we have to do it in our homes on a day-to-day basis, and the city and the counties and the states have to do it, I think the federal government ought to do it as well. And we need to get a balanced budget amendment through both the Congress and through the Senate so that they have to live within their means as well. The next issue, and this is kind of one that's an overarching theme, and that is a constitutionally limited government. I'm tired of watching the people go to Washington on promises of fiscal responsibility and smaller government, and then when they get there, all they do is vote for the largesse of the government and for the social programs that basically keeps them in office and continues their policy and programs of keeping them in office. So that's one of the things that with the constitutionally limited government, and get it back down to the requirements that the Constitution required of the states, and push that authority and push that responsibility as well back down to the state level, including closing the Department of Education so that can be returned to the states. And finally, one of the things that we all see, and especially here in North Carolina, where we have been consistently for 41, 42, 43 months, consistently higher in our unemployment rate than the national average, and to get under 9% would be a nice goal for North Carolina. When we're sitting, I believe, at 9.4%. I will work hard when I'm elected to Congress to make sure that we have a three-pronged approach for jobs. First and foremost is reducing the regulation that is on the backs of the small businessmen that requires them to comply and to hire people just for the non-productive purpose of completing government forms and government regulations, and that includes repealing and replacing Obamacare. The second step of my jobs program will be to take full advantage of the energy program that we have here, especially with the fracking that we have here in North Carolina, as well as the resources we have off the coast of North Carolina. Shallow water drilling has been proven safe technology for over 20 years, and this is something that we can do in North Carolina to return the jobs and return the growth and the economic prosperity that people in North Carolina deserve. And that's one of the things that I will fight for in Washington. And third and last on this is I will continue my effort to talk to businesses I have done in the last 6 months, going up and down the 12th district and helping them to work to get training programs in the community colleges and get programs that will help people to get retrained in the industries where we have jobs, so that we can address the matching of the jobs that are available out there with the labor and the people that want to work. I will help that as a congressman in Washington. And last, the other thing now, and this kind of goes into the responsibility, and one of the themes of my campaign is personal responsibility. And this is where each and every one of us here in this room, as we leave here tonight and as we go forward in the days, weeks, and months between now and November, we need to take ownership of this election cycle, and we need to get out in our neighborhood. And I will do everything I can to help support you in getting out and registering people to vote, and those that are already registering to make sure that they vote, and to explain to them why voting Tea Party, voting conservative, is their best hope for reestablishing the economy and the exceptionalism that is the Americans' right. And I thank you for coming out tonight and having completed that prepared statement such as it is. I will take some questions from the floor.
Jack, on your website, you've got a national debt clock that's well over $16 trillion. Will you tell us that you will not vote for any debt increase for the federal government at this time?
I will not vote for any debt ceiling increase. Not only that, I've been looking at the way they do the budget, and one of the things that I just can't understand is how Washington, they keep on talking about income on a year-by-year basis, but they talk about spending over 10 years. And that way they can reduce the effect, I'm sorry, backwards. They actually talk about income over 10 years, and they are spending over 10 years, and they talk about income over the lifetime of the program. And that allows them to hide a lot of their spending in programs where they commit future dollars, and they show how the back end of the curve goes up to pay for it. And then the problem is they don't tell you that they can't commit future Congresses to that budget. So you end up spending the money this year, but all of a sudden when the income is supposed to be coming in future years, it doesn't happen so much, because they don't have the political will and the political courage to balance the budget over 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. So I will make sure that it balances, and it balances year to year, not over 10 years using that money to make it happen. Any other questions?
What's the amount of the budget right now for the Department of Education?
That's one of the things I don't have all of the budget line items down, but it's interesting you should ask them about Department of Education, because it's one of the things that I've looked at, and I tried to understand that on a state level basis. And one of the problems is the State Department of Education gets some of their money from the federal, they get some of the money from the city, some of the money from the county, some of the money, and a lot of the money from grants, and you can't really tell what money is being spent and what money goes there. And one of the things that I will fight for in Washington is transparency, so that you can see the money where it comes from. And I took County 101. I was considering being a dual major, and I remember those old T accounts. They only have two sides. There's only income and expenses. And getting some of the government budgets down to that simplicity, so that we as Americans can understand it, is something that I will fight for when I'm in Washington. Jerry?
Is there anything we can do to help you? Do you need any money or volunteers?
No, I'm good. I thank you very much for that question. And it's, obviously, it's one of the programs that I actually started up in the Rowan Tea Party a couple of weeks ago. Is I do have envelopes here, and I would encourage you to take the envelopes with you and basically hold my feet to the fire. Don't necessarily, don't get me wrong, I would love to have you contribute through my website, which is broschforcongress.com, but consider donating the money in person. By doing that for me, as well as all of the other political candidates, you hear talk, you have the opportunity to hold their feet to the fire. So basically, take the envelope home with you, and every night before you go to bed or in the morning before you wake up, just put $1 in that envelope. And then when you see me 30 days from now at one of the future Tea Party meetings here for Caution, or one of the future meetings out there, then you give me that envelope. Because then you'll have the opportunity to face me face to face and ask the questions that you want answered as to maybe some things that you may not be thinking about right now, but going forward. And I will continue that program while I'm in Congress, that I would love to have your money face to face. Now, don't get me wrong, that don't mean you can just take the envelope and go home and sit on the couch for the next 90 days. It means you got to be out there, and you got to be able to make yourself available. Now, I'm going to be coming to these Tea Party meetings, but I would also love to see you host a precinct meeting where I will come to your house or to your neighborhood restaurant or American Grill or tavern, whatever it may be, to be able to meet you and your neighbors, to be able to get my message out there. Because one of the things that is the hardest to do is to get the message to the people on the street. And those precinct meetings, in my opinion, when you're face to face, they're one of the best ways of doing that. So those are the two ways that you can help my campaign the best, and strike out there as often as you can.
Thank you, Congressman Roush. I think the gentleman's question was
Brosch.
sorry. The gentleman's question about the Department of Education budget, $77.4 billion.
Love a man with a computer. Unfortunately, mine's sitting back there. But no, that definitely tells you something about it. The other thing is, and this is something that I got, to be honest with you, from Dan Forrest's campaign. The fact that they've got, I believe they've got 3 times as many people in Washington for the Department of Education as they do here in North Carolina, when North Carolina is the one that should be the one that's controlling it.
Yeah, Mel Watt just voted against the audit of the Federal Reserve. I'm wondering if you would want to audit it, and would you bring that up as a campaign issue against Mel Watt, being that it is very popular?
I will definitely be bringing that up as a campaign issue against Mel Watt. I think the bill that Ron Paul just got through the Congress is a great bill. In conjunction with my campaign promise of transparency, I think that auditing any of the federal agencies at some level or another should be a requirement of the federal government. Now, I understand there are some security issues in some of the departments that may make that a little bit difficult, but you need to have oversight, and Congress needs to step back up to their constitutional obligation of oversight, and that includes both the Department of the Treasury and the Fed, as well as the Department of Treasury Department.
So you would have voted for the audit?
I would have voted for the audit, yes.